I think you can go, Patty.
Got it. Welcome, parents of future Highland Hounds. We are excited tonight to have you join us. I am Patty Woodruff, the principal at Highland. In a minute, you will meet two of our outstanding educators, as well as our office coordinator and our director of communications. We're all here to answer questions that you may have as you give us or trust in us your most precious possession, your child. So first, I'm going to turn you over to Mrs. Carol Diamond. She will be talking a little bit about herself. Oh, you're muted, Miss John.
I'm learning. Hi, I'm Carol Diamond, and I've been an educator for 20 years. I taught in California for 16 years and then moved back to Michigan and took 10 years off to raise my daughters. And then I've been at Highland for 4 years. So I am loving being back into the classroom. Is Barb next, or do you want me to go into my...
Miss Johnson's next. We're going to introduce her next.
All right, Barb.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted. I am Barb Johnson. I have been back teaching for 30 years. Most of those years have been at Highland Elementary. My husband and I have 4 kids who all went to Huron Valley schools. So they graduated a long time ago, been to college, and have families of their own. And I now have 2 grandchildren in Huron Valley schools. So I have been in kindergarten my whole 30 years and love it. Love the kids. It's challenging at times, but they are such an exciting little group, and it's so fun to see the learning happen. So we're excited to get your little ones this year and start a brand new year. So welcome to Highland Elementary. And now I think, is Carol going to talk about a little bit what happens at the beginning, right? Okay, so I'm going to turn it back over to Carol again.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about the first week, because the first week's schedule is different than the rest of the school year. On Monday, August 31st is our first day back. And on that day, my class would come in the afternoon and Mrs. Johnson's class would come in the morning. So the whole class comes just for a half of a day, and they come with an adult, with a mom or dad or grandma, whoever it is, the guardian, whoever it is that's going to come with them that day. So they don't ride the bus that day, and they won't be going to lunch that day. It's just a half of a day, and we do some activities all together. They get used to the school, and they get to meet some other teachers that they'll be seeing throughout the year. Then Tuesday, half of our classes come for a full day, and they don't come with an adult that day. It's just them. So they'll be there for lunch. They can ride the bus, but just half of the class comes and the other half stays home. Then on Wednesday, September 2nd, the other half of the class comes for the day, and the kids who came on Tuesday stay home. And then on Thursday, September 3rd, we have everybody, and we have our first regular day of school where it's everybody all together. So the first week looks a little different, and you'll get a schedule about that, so you don't have to worry about writing anything down now. I'll walk you through what a regular day looks like. We start school, I believe our school day is going to start at 9:15 next year, and it goes till 4:07. So at 9:15, the kids come into the classroom. We line up by the kindergarten door. We have our own door that they can use. They come in, we unpack our backpacks, put up our coats, put everything away, and we have breakfast at our school every day. So they can, if they choose, they can go get something off the counter that they'd like for breakfast and eat. Some kids have already eaten breakfast, or maybe they're hungry for a snack by then. If they've been up for a while and they're still hungry, they can grab something. If they aren't eating, they can practice their letters on whiteboards, or there's some morning work that they can do. After we clean up from breakfast, we all have a morning meeting where we talk about our day, we listen to announcements, we say the pledge, And then we plunge into our phonics, our readers workshop, our writers workshop, and our math time. So all of that takes place in the morning while they're fresh and they're ready to go. And then that brings us up to lunchtime. And at lunch, we go about 5 minutes ahead of the first grade so that we're in there all by ourselves for a few minutes to get ourselves all settled and get through the lunch line. There are lunch supervisors, adults who are in there to help. So we can make sure we can help kids open things that they need for their lunch or help them get their lunch tray if they're buying lunch. We do ask that lunches for the first week be packed because it's already overwhelming for them. And trying to get through a lunch line and decide what they want for lunch is sometimes it's way too much for them. So we do ask for the first week that we pack lunches. After they finish eating and they've cleaned up their own space, they're old enough to be responsible for that. So we let them clean up all their garbage and things like that. They return to the room with one of the adult supervisors. They put away their lunch boxes and then they get to put on their coats and go out to recess. And the recess door for the kindergarten recess is right by our room. So they just go right out that door when they're ready. After recess, they line up outside the door and we come and we bring them in, they hang up their coats and we do a little bit of a cool down. We usually read a story because we've got about 15 minutes usually before we have to go to our special. So it's enough time for them to get themselves in, hang up, go to the bathroom, wash their hands, whatever they need to do and sit down and listen to a story and just kind of bring it down from recess time. We head to our special and we get to have art or music or PE or technology for our specials. And we rotate through that all through the week. They get one every day. And so that's usually one of their favorite times of the day. They really like that. They come back from special and we usually have another little chunk of time, maybe 15 or so minutes. And we usually read another story or finish up something we need to do. And then we have something called WIN, which stands for What I Need. And that's an opportunity, a 45-minute period, an opportunity for them to get into smaller groups, to really work intensively on maybe a reading skill, or for some of them, it might be a writing skill that they need, or for some of them, it might be a math. It's really what they need. And we take a look, I think every 6 weeks at how we need to mix these groups up and where does this child need the most help? Or where's their strengths at? Where are their little holes that we need to fill in? And so it's a great opportunity for us to work with smaller groups of children at that time. That usually doesn't start until about the 5th or 6th week of school because we've got to have time to assess them and kind of see what everybody needs at that point. Then after WIN, we all come back. Some of the kids go out to another teacher for WIN, but we make sure the teacher comes and gets them and takes them. So we aren't just sending them out into the school. Somebody's with them and guiding them. When they come back from WIN, that's usually when we do our social studies or our science time. And I do want to say that also in the morning, the afternoon, nice weather, we try and squeeze in an extra recess because those little guys, they need to move their bodies. So we try and squeeze in even if it's just a little 15-minute get up and move kind of thing. We try and make sure that that's happening frequently, especially at the beginning of the year. And then sometimes when it's not really nice weather, we have a great playroom between our 2 rooms. And we've got a little kitchen set up. We've got a loft where they can go and read. We have all different kinds of toys and great things for them to use their imagination and play. So we also use that as a break time too. And then the last part of the day is pack up. Each child will have a red folder where there'll be communication that'll come home to you. So we'll make sure they have that in their backpack. And each child will also have what we call a bus buddy. And that you have a bus buddy even if they don't ride the bus. We just call it the bus buddy. And that's a 4th or a 5th grader who will escort them to their bus or to the cafeteria if their parent pickup at 4:07. So your child is never just let out of the classroom and said, okay, go to the bus or go to the cafeteria. And on top of that bus buddy escorting them, there's a teacher at the beginning of every line too, the line that goes to the cafeteria and the line that goes out to the buses. So there's always an adult there too. So they've got lots of coverage. That's what a day in kindergarten, that's what a normal day in kindergarten looks like. Did I cover everything, Mrs. Johnson?
It looks like you did. So,
okay. Well,
so
then
I guess now I can say goodbye.
No. No, then I'm going to pass it over to Mrs. Johnson, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about the curriculum and just how you can make sure that your kindergartner is prepared in the fall.
Okay, so Carol kind of went through the day, and when they came in the morning, the very first thing we do is calendar and math routines. We put a number of the day up on the board. They begin to learn they count by ones, and they begin to learn by tens, and we count all the way to 180 if that's how many days we have at school. So each day we circle another number, and they begin to learn those math activities, the writing equations right on that very first day. So we can, on day one, we'll put day number 1 up there. And then on day number 2, they'll learn 1 plus 1 more equals 2. So right on that very second day, they start writing math equations. So it's really kind of exciting to see them build right from the very beginning. Then when we finish calendar, we go into an activity called Haggerty, and they work on letter ID. We do work with rhyming. We work with nursery rhymes a little bit in there. And as we keep building on that, as we go along a little bit farther, we work on syllables. We work on beginning sounds, ending sounds, middle sounds. So all of that is part of our Haggerty activities first thing in the morning. And then at that point, sometimes we need to move around a little bit. We might take a brain break. We might sing an alphabet song or do a little fun dance. Do something just to get them up and moving around. And then we go into our phonics. And in our phonics, we have this little guy right here. I'll hold up. This is Mabel. And I have one, and so does Mrs. Diamond. And at the very beginning, Mabel brings the children a letter each day. And then there's whatever children start with that letter, we make a big deal about that. We count the letters in their names. We look at how many tall letters, how many short letters. And then we put their name up on the wall underneath the alphabet. So unfortunately, we're not in our classroom, so you can't see our alphabet up there, but their name goes underneath there, and it's kind of a big deal. That was their day. And then as we go a little bit further on with phonics, we do some activities called Kagan activities. You'll hear a little bit more about this, but we might break them up into rug groups, and their rug groups usually are 3 to 4 students, depending on the number of students we have in our class. And they all have whiteboards and markers. And we might do some activities with vowels. We might do beginning letter sounds, all different kinds of activities that we do during our phonics lessons. But the phonics is mainly working on letter sounds, and then once they figure out these sounds and putting these sounds together to do beginning words and putting them together, taking them apart. And we take brain breaks a lot in there. So when they begin to get a little bit fidgety, we stop. Children learn, we have found, very well through song. So we will learn a lot of songs in the very beginning that will teach them. It'll teach them rhyming. It'll teach them letter sounds. It'll teach them the letters in the alphabet. So we do a lot of those kinds of activities. They'll come home singing lots of those songs in the very beginning. And it's really fun to see how excited they are to come home and sing the songs for you that they have learned. And then from there, we move into writer's workshop. And your children are coming to us at all different levels. Some of them may know lots of letters in the alphabet. Some of them may only know 2 or 3 letters in the alphabet. And we take them from where they are and move them forward. So with writer's workshop, the children that we start at the very beginning with just drawing a picture when they're telling a story. So they tell their story, and they'll dictate to us what their story was all about. That is beginning writing. Now, There may be children that are coming to us that know all the letters in the alphabet. They know the letter sounds. They may even be able to put some labels in their picture, or they might even be able to write a short sentence. And this is where it's differentiated instruction. Those children that are at the very beginning just drawing pictures can draw pictures. Children that are a little more advanced, then they can do a little bit extra. They can add labels, they can add words to their story. And some of them, who knows, might even be able to write a short sentence. So we encourage them to do whatever they are able to do. So then from writing pictures, then we move into labeling their pictures. And then from there, we move into writing short sentences to go with it. And right now, the children are doing informational writing. And Mrs. Diamond has been taking them through one lesson a day where they just begin step by step to build their story. So they start by putting down what they want to write their story about. Some of them have picked an animal. And then, so they put down the animal they want to write about. Then they begin to think, okay, what do I know about this animal? And they might write 4 or 5 things down on a story map that kind of tells them what they know. Maybe ears, maybe nose, maybe paws, things that they might know if they picked a dog, things about that dog. And then they begin to write their stories 1 page at a time. And they'll write a sentence. Maybe some of them can write a couple of sentences on a page. And they'll do an illustration so that we teach them whatever picture is on that page, their writing matches that picture. So step by step, we will lead them through to write an informational book. So this is, we're right now at the end of the school year, but we just keep building and adding on more skills as they're ready to move on and learn those skills. And then from there, we always have to get up, move around, and that's when there's nice weather, we might take a break and go outside for 15, 20 minutes so that they can move around a little bit. And then we go into reader's workshop. And the children may say, but I don't know how to read. And Mrs. Diamond and I tell them, oh, yes, you do know how to read. Can you look at a book and tell me what's happening in that picture? Can you retell a story maybe that mom and dad have read to you many times? If you can do that, you are a reader. You may not necessarily be reading the words yet, but if you can tell me what's happening on a page by looking at a picture, or if you can retell a story to me that mom and dad maybe read to you several times and you've got it memorized. One of our daughters knew the very hungry caterpillar from beginning to end. She even knew that it was dedicated to my sister Krista, and she always put that at the beginning. That's beginning reading. Any of that they can do, they're building those reading skills, and we just keep building on from there. After a while, they will in the beginning, we talk about book handling, how you turn a page, how the front and the back of the book, what part of it is the text, the words on the page, the picture, and they learn that the picture matches the words. And in the beginning, they may just be looking at picture books and retelling stories, and it may even be a made-up story. They may look at a picture and make up a story due to what they see on that page, and that's okay. That is beginning reading. From there, we move into where they get their own book boxes, and then we begin to give them level books. Level books might start out with just alphabet books where they see a picture and in a word that matches that picture. They might see a ball on that page, and then it might be the word ball written on that page. And they will begin to associate those letters with that word ball and the picture that they see on that page. That is beginning writing or beginning reading, I'm sorry. And as their skill levels develop more and more, then we put more level books. They begin to find a Just Right book. It's a book that they can pick up and at least read some of the words on that page. And then we teach them the skills and the strategies so that they can figure out the tricky words on that page. So step by step, we build them up until they're reading books that might have 2-3 sentences on a page, and you will be amazed at the progress they make once they get started. It is so exciting to see these little guys, and they light up when they can pick up a book and they can look at that word and say, look, Mrs. Johnson or Mrs. Diamond, this says, this is a ball. And they are so excited that they were able to do that. So then from there, we move into math. And in the beginning of the day, when we're doing calendar and we're doing our number of the day, those are what we call our math routines. And then at the end of the morning, we do our math lessons. And there again, we start out very slowly and we just keep adding on to it until they get to a point where they're writing story problems and writing equations. Right now we're doing what we call math mountains, where they have a number at the top and then there's 2 numbers at the bottom of this triangle. And they begin to learn partners of numbers. If it's a 10 at the top, there might be a 3 and a 7 at the bottom of this math mountain, because those are partners that make up the number 10. So, we're also working right now on, we did 2D shapes and now we're working on 3D shapes, and we work on team numbers. So there's a lot that goes into it, and we just kind of build a little bit as we go along. Then they have their electives in the afternoon, their PE, their music, their art, which is so exciting. And then at the end of the day, we do our science. And we have an exciting science curriculum that we were using this last year. So science is very hands-on. And in the math also, the beginning math is very manipulative and hands-on. They need to see the concrete before we move them into the abstract of writing equations or that type of thing. So a lot of math and science are hands-on activities. So that's why we put the math at the end of the morning, because by then they need to be able to use their hands and work with things. And then at the end of the day, we do science, and science is very hands-on, and it's really exciting to see. They will even build a shade maker where they have a little critter that if the light gets to it, it will glow in the dark. And they have to, with a partner, build a shade maker that when they put this little critter inside or underneath their shade maker, and we leave it there under a bright light, and then we really quick run into one of the bathrooms with the lights out and see if their little critter glows. And if it doesn't glow, then they have been successful. And they'll keep working. They learn the science and engineering skills, and they will go back and rework on it. They'll figure out what they have to engineer to fix that shade maker so that their little critter doesn't glow in the dark. And they'll keep at it. It's amazing to see. They will keep at that until their shade maker works and their little critter doesn't glow when we put it in the dark. So that's a lot of our science at the end of the day. And social studies, we start right out by learning rules. Why we have rules at school? It's to keep you safe. We have rules for the playground. We have rules in the classroom. And they learn the importance of rules, and then we go on from there. So now, if you're asking what you can do to help your child get ready for kindergarten, Mrs. Dietrich has uploaded several things that you can access on the computer. It's practicing lots of activities to do each day. There's suggestions for things that you can do to help build independence. One thing, if you can help them get on their jacket by themselves, practice zipping zippers, and please, if at all possible, help them learn to tie their shoes. It's not so bad in the fall, but when the first snow flies and Mrs. Diamond and I are tying 40-some shoes when they come in from recess, it's really helpful if they can learn to tie their shoes. So different things, there's some suggestions on there of things that you can do to help them just gain a little bit of independence before coming to kindergarten. There's also a little pamphlet on there that suggestions for helping with anxiety, especially with what's going on right now. You're anxious, your children are going to be anxious, but I assure you we will keep them safe once they come to school. That is first and foremost. And we will take very good care of your children when they get there. So we're excited to meet them. Hopefully before school starts, we'll get a chance to do that. So I will turn it over now, I think, back to Mrs. Woodward, right?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you, Mrs. Diamond and Mrs. Johnson. They hit on the academics, but one of the things I think that makes Highland Elementary so unique and so important to parents is our family atmosphere in the building and the way we work to involve not only academic growth, but our kids' social emotional growth. Everybody at Highland knows all the kids. We talk about all the kids, we laugh with the kids. Doesn't matter if they're in our classroom or not, if they're in the grade level or not. We know our kids. And I really feel like the Hound family, that's what makes us so special when people ask. Mrs. Dietrich, speaking of Mrs. Dietrich, did upload some things. I'm going to introduce her. She is our office coordinator. She will be the one who helps you with any of the paperwork you need to do or any of the registration. I urge you to register tonight or tomorrow first thing. We are working on our numbers right now and actually working on a class list as well, if you can imagine. So we do need that. No matter where we start from next year, which there will be a number of options for parents. If we're not in school, there will be virtual school. Whatever we do, we want to educate your child and we want to share in this journey for you. So Mrs. Dietrich, if you want to introduce yourself for a minute and tell them what some of the things they could bring or what they need to do to register.
Sounds fantastic. Well, I'm Mrs. Dietrich, and I've been at the school for 14 years. I was also a parent for 25 total. I am the office coordinator. It's been 3 years now. And the paperwork that you're going to need for kindergarten is always so overwhelming. This year, they've opened it up that I can accept copies, you making copies of things. I need the birth certificate. It has to have a raised seal. So by the time the fall gets here, I'm going to need to see the original. Or if you want to mail me in a copy, that would be great. Any of the paperwork can be mailed in, or I believe we're going to send out an email to give you 1 day a week, or we can set up an appointment for you to drop off your paperwork in a safe environment where we're not touching each other, seeing each other. You drop it off, I make the copies and bring it back out to you. What you're going to need is all kindergartners have to have a copy of a vision screening. You can get that at the local health department. I've got all the different locations on our website, or you can get it from your pediatrician. They'll even do it for you. We have to have the enrollment online. That's your first and foremost. I don't even know you exist unless you enroll online. As soon as I know you exist, I start communicating with you. I'll send you emails about what the documents you need. Your next one is the residency information. I need 2 proofs of residency. It can be a utility bill. It cannot be a cell phone bill because that's not attached to a house. That's attached to a person. So a utility bill, a lease bill, something like that shows your name and address on it. And your picture ID. So that's your proof of residency. Then we also have, huge. I need your immunization papers. That can come right from your pediatrician, doctor's office, health department. If you go there to get the immunizations, or you make an appointment to get a waiver. That is by appointment only. And you have until middle of October to get all of that information in, but I can't get you into the school without it. So at least a copy of it. Also, sorry, it's gone. Oh, I have the kindergarten profiles sheet that you have to fill out and the transportation release form. so that your kids can ride safely on the bus and the bus drivers know exactly who they're able to give your child to at the bus stop. And if it's not you, it has to be somebody else that's on that list, or the child comes back to the school. I get a phone call or it goes back to transportation. So that's really important. We have not lost a child yet. In all of the years that this office has been running, we have not lost a child yet. And we're not going to do it on my watch, let me tell you. Any information you need, I did send most everybody an email and gave them my email address. You can contact me that way. We can contact me that way to make any appointments or anything like that. I don't think I have anything else, unless Mrs. Woodruff can think of something.
No, I would just add that all of the information is available on the hvs.org website. It is a great site. There's a video that kind of takes you through a little bit of kindergarten, and there are so many resources for all the things we've talked about today. As well as, if our emails are on there, feel free to email me any questions that you have after this. I know we get thinking about them after in our mind, and I will get right back to you. So now I'm going to turn it over to Kim Root. She's our Director of Communications and a whole mess of other titles. She's amazing. Good evening, Mrs. Root.
Thank you, Mrs. Woodruff. Amazing. I love that word. I haven't heard that in a while, and I've missed everybody. Actually, one of the folks that are watching our live stream said that it was just so nice to see all of your lovely faces. And I agree. It is so nice to see all of your lovely faces. And we can't wait until we're back together again. But we know we have to do that in a safe way. So I wanted to just emphasize a couple of things that each person has addressed, and that is that we are going to do whatever it takes to keep your children safe in this environment. We all recognize that this is something that we've never dealt with before, but one of the things we're going to be spending a tremendous amount of time on over the summer is planning on what school looks like in the fall. And that's going to come from public health guidance from the state and federal resources that we depend on. We're going to have options for parents if we have a hybrid model where kids are in school for part of the week and working virtually for part of the week. We will likely have some completely virtual options for anyone who is afraid to send their child to school with groups of other children who also may be dealing with COVID-19 in their own homes. So there will be a lot of information coming forward over the next couple of months about what school looks like in the fall. But as Mrs. Diedrich said, we can't talk with you unless we know you're out there. So first and foremost, we have to get your child enrolled in the system. And if you know, for those folks who are watching tonight, if you know of somebody who has a kindergarten age child or any age child for elementary living in the Highland area, please encourage them to go online and get registered, because then we can begin the process of communicating with you effectively. So I also just wanted to touch on one other item, and that is that back in November, Huron Valley voters approved a bond and a building site sinking fund for the school district, and we haven't done something that significant in 20 years. That's going to touch every single building in Huron Valley schools, and first, it's going to touch our elementary schools with things like new secure entrances. Every building is going to have a remodel. Every playground is going to get a refresh, new equipment. And so those are really exciting things. There's no better time to be coming into Huron Valley schools, because your children are going to reap the benefits of this commitment that our community has made for years to come, because literally every building is getting just a whole makeover, and that's really wonderful. So we're very, very excited about that. And so we do have a few questions now that have come in. We have an audience out there, ladies, so that's a great thing. So the first question is, will I still need to provide paperwork even though my child was at Apollo for GSRP?
No, you do not. All you have to do is go on when the registration opens up in August to register your child. That's all you have to do. All of the information will be transferred from GSRP to our building.
Thank you, Mrs. Diedrich. The next question is our first step doing the family access info. I had submitted some online forms a few months back, but I can't remember if it was this family access and don't seem to have info for it. I don't think I've gotten any emails from Mrs. Diedrich. I've only been getting info through Apollo. She's in preschool there currently.
If she's in preschool there, then you don't have to do the online enrollment. I already know about her, and you should have gotten an email from me last Monday at least. If you didn't, I'll double check the list again, or you can feel free to reach out to my email.
And can you read that off to us right now, Beth?
It is my name. It is Beth, Beth, Diedrich, D as in David, I-E, D as in David, R-I-C-H, at hvs.org.
Thank you very much. So that covers all the questions that we have right now. We have, so that was a follow-up to say I can email you to verify. So that's excellent. The next question is, when and where do we email the necessary documents? Thank you.
Again, email them to me. Have my email address. I will acknowledge that I have received your documents. And then I will put everything together in a packet and send it on to the admin building.
Thank you again. That's all we have for questions. So you guys must have done a fabulous job in covering everything. Mrs. Woodruff, I don't know if there are other questions out there and maybe they're just not on people's minds, but I know that they can email anyone on this live stream to get their questions answered. And as I indicated previously, as we know more about how the state reopens, each of our elementary buildings, traditionally in the past, before school started, we had done like an ice cream social or a, meet the staff, come tour the school. We hope to do those kinds of things as well in August. The first day of school is August 31st. And I know that each building will be communicating about those events if it's possible to do them. And so I would just say, does anyone have anything else to add?
No, Ms. Root, I would just tell them to please email me if they have questions as well. I'm Patty with an I, Woodruff, WOODRUFF, and that's at hvs.org as well. And we are excited to meet them.
So excited. And I would just say, put one more plug in. Anybody who's watching us right now, please encourage your friends and neighbors, if they haven't enrolled their children, to do that now. It's really important that we get folks in the system because that's how we plan our staffing. That's how we know, how many kiddos to expect in the fall. That's how we begin communicating with you and answering all your questions and making sure that you and your child are all set for August 31st. So that's it. Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening. And this is being recorded, so we will post all the recordings on our website from each building. So any parent who wasn't able to tune in this evening will be able to access this video and get to see all your lovely faces. Good night, everyone.
Good night.